What's good, y'all? Welcome to my review for this week's episode of Hiroaka Vigilantes, man. The first episode of the Aizawa Origins arc, the school days arc, man, which, first of all, man, I just have to ask, and I don't know if Horikoshi Sensei himself has ever said anything about this, or the Vigilantes manga said either. I am genuinely wondering, why is Aizawa's origin story thrown into Vigilantes and not shown into the actual main series, given, you know, where Aizawa is a major character. I mean, he's a decently major recurring character in Vigilantes as well, but I'd argue he even has a bigger role in the main series, honestly. So, especially since we got bits of Shirakumo's origins and everything with Kurogiri around the end of in Season 5. I do wonder why Horikoshi didn't put this in there. Then again, we were near the end of the series, and we were just going from war to war. He literally probably just couldn't find anywhere for it to fit without it just killing the pacing for a while, and just putting everything else last. Chances like, fucking Vigilantes, you take it. You do it, you do it. I am genuinely curious, like, how involved, and I think I mentioned this in my review for the previous episode, which, you know, guys, I did say I was going to record a reaction to this episode, so I'll be dropping later. I am genuinely curious, like, how much of Horikoshi, given that this is involving characters he himself created, you know, and stuff we have not seen involving said characters, expanding on Shirakumo's identity. I am genuinely curious to see how involved he was with this arc. Like, I don't know what his general involvement in Vigilantes was. Prior, back when the series was, back when the both mangas were publishing concurrently, I'm not sure how big of an involvement he had. But with this arc, I'm curious if he had, like, more involvement, or if he, like, straight just gave him whatever notes he had for this and just had him fill in the blanks. I am genuinely curious what Horikoshi's involved, because I feel like he must have been at a slightly more involvement with Vigilantes with this arc compared to the rest of the series, given, you know, it involves Aizawa. I am curious, but whatever the case may be, also, guys, apologies for the lateness on this review, man, because my mom is going back to Ridgecrest, and she's, like, visiting some friends and what, so she will be gone. So my gym's kid kind of had to get reorganized, so because of all that, of course, there's still tons of snow outside, so like, the main track we go to is still blocked off. It's still, like, completely cut off, because it's, like, covered in snow, apparently, still. So we had to go to the gym on Monday, as well as on Tuesday, or at least try to on Tuesday, because she's leaving, like, tomorrow, like, 5 a.m. So I had to go today. So, so apologies for that. So, yeah, honestly, it took me a lot longer to actually finally get started recording. It's literally 5 o'clock, almost 6 o'clock right now as I'm recording this right now. I'm just hoping I can get the audio done for the review done by the time Raw starts. If I can get that, I'll be happy. But yeah, man, so apologies in advance for the lateness on the review for this, man. It's gonna be like this for a couple weeks because of this. But yeah, anyway, guys, let's just jump right into the actual episode. So we start the episode off with Midnight calling up Aizawa, and this is what we learned that Midnight is teaching the way. We see that she has a cat with her, which you guys will see in my reaction. I question if this was like the same cat that Shirakumo had today that we saw earlier on the episode as well. I'm pretty sure we saw this in that episode of Hiroaka Season 5 when it was revealed that Shirakumo was Kurogiri. I want to say we saw his cat there too, but I might be wrong. But either way, I was questioning this is the same cat. Later on the episode, more or less confirmed that this is indeed the same cat. Anyway, named Sushi. Anyway, so then she's like calling up Aizawa, this is also the first time I think I ever learned that Midnight's actual name is Kamaya. I don't know if it was ever stated in the main series that her name was Kamaya, but whether it was or wasn't, I forgot if it was. This is the first time I'm hearing it. So yeah, Kamaya. I also gotta say, man, like, I have really started to turn and understand, you know, I have come and saw the vision with Midnight, man. She bad, man, and I love these pink glasses she got on. They really suit her, man. And the sweater that she's wearing is also very nice as well, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully one day there's a figure of this. But yeah, Midnight, bad as hell. Anyway, so, and of course she's like trying to convince Aizawa to join, you know, to be a teacher as well. He's like, no, I'm not a teacher. It's not for me, etc., etc., etc. We all know Aizawa ends up becoming a teacher. Anyway, I am kind of curious if that ends up getting answered by the end of this arc. It ends, and then Aizawa finally agrees to become a teacher for UA after this arc. Because I am kind of curious if that ends up being a thing. We'll have to wait and see on that. This is how if this arc ends. But regardless of mention, then mention that of course that President Mike will be joining UA at the next semester, man. So it's up. So now it's just Aizawa. That's all that's left. Just left to join as a teacher. And as they continue talking, she's like brushing the cat. She mentioned that President Mike said that he needs that he wanted on being like the guiding force to finally convince Aizawa to be a teacher, because like apparently he needs someone to like kind of like to push him into things, otherwise he never decides on anything. And Aizawa's like, go tell him to keep his mouth shut. Midnight says that she agrees with him. She thinks they still live in the past and forget and forego in the future, obviously referring to Shirakumo's death, assuming given how he reacts. So then he hangs up on Midnight, and he's like, finally, my real one. As, a wolf man chasing down a girl in a red hood, come after through the alleyway. So after the OP, we've come back over with Koichi. Also, we found that the word of the day for this episode is flashback. A fitting word, I would say, man, but yeah. These whole words of the day thing for Vigilantes, I kinda dig it, man, not gonna lie. I kinda do enjoy it. Anyway, so anyway, after that, man, we get cut to Koichi carrying a box with a kitten in it, and the little girl running away from a wolf man, or some sort of wolf man. Whether it's a wolf man or just a man that looks like a wolf, regardless. Anyway, he's running away from the wolf man, and he's like, oh, my favorite things is little kids and little girls, little Red Riding better run. I'm like, bro, you're a little too on the nose with this. So anyway, Koichi ends up handing off the kitten to the little girl and having her run away while he distracts the guy. So while she's running away, Koichi is gonna be like, yoo-hoo, don't I look tasty? He's like, yeah, you look like a great meal. And he comes after, of course, Queen, but of course, the little girl trips and drops the cat, but then that's when Aizawa shows up and saves the day. And then we get the flashback of how this happened, where Koichi mentioned the little girl was he was on patrol, he saw the little girl watching the cat, and we're running to do, then the wolf man just popped out of nowhere and they started running. So then it starts raining as Aizawa calls it in, and so now Aizawa and Koichi are just chilling under this cover. I don't know what these things are called, like those little things that that business put on the front of their entrances, man. I don't know these cards. I don't know what these things are called, if they have a specific name. But anyways, just the two of them chilling under this thing with the cat. It definitely kind of reminded me. I don't know if this was meant to be a direct reference or not. That bus stop scene in My Neighbor Totoro when they're just sitting there with Totoro for a bit. It just kind of reminded me of that, brother. As they're just chilling under this cover in the rain, man. I just thought it was a funny visual. So as they're talking, Aizawa's asking Koichi what he's gonna do about the cat. He doesn't know yet. And then Aizawa just starts laying it all down like here about everything, about laying it all down, thinking about raising the cat. You need to feed it. You need to clean its litter box. And Koichi's like, as he just keeps rattling about vets, fucking getting it fixed, that cats can live over if they're lucky up to 20 years. Can you take care of it? Can a student pay for that? Because vets are more expensive, can be more expensive than human doctors. You can't throw it away once you graduate. Which, by the way, makes it seem like that he knows that Koichi is a college student, which, okay, I will say that this is my biggest problem with Vigilantes, and I hate how it almost never gets real mention or notice at all, because we know these guys are vigilantes, so obviously they would hide, they would have secret identities, hide their identity, so no one knows who they really are, so they don't get in trouble, they don't get arrested, etc., etc., etc. We see that Knuckle Duster does this very well with his whole getup. Pop kind of does it, but I think it's mostly due with her idol, not so much with her just being a vigilante, more so with just her old idol scene. But Koichi, this brother has his mask down for half the time, man. And in season 1, they were pretty good about it, about Koichi having his mask up while he was actually, on the field, doing patrols and whatnot, man. But since season 2, I swear he has not put his mask up one time that wasn't in the OP. And it really fucking annoys me how this whole part about, vigilantes are in fact vigilantes, and they're not, they're not sanctioned by the government or police, so they are technically breaking the law doing this, and yet it never gets mentioned, and Koichi just has to, it's just like, keeps his identity out in the open. Like, it's a miracle he hasn't gotten arrested. And it really annoys that this never gets mentioned, and seemingly it's been forgotten about since season 1. That's like my really only major problem I have with Vigilantes, is this stupid thing about the Vigilantes thing, seemingly not getting anything, not being used, and like forgetting about that Koichi isn't actually a licensed hero. and he just keeps his mask down all the time. It really annoys me. This is like the one bit of Vigilante that just really annoys me. Anyway, so after Aizawa, you know, puts the fear of God in him about raising this cat, he tells him to put it back where he was. They keep talking to Aizawa, and Koichi asks him if Aizawa doesn't like cat. He says, like, what I like or me liking or not liking cats doesn't matter. And then he points out how Aizawa has not even so much as glanced at the cats as they started talking. And he mentions about how that he can't take care of it either, so there's no point in getting attached. I just know my limits. And this is when we go over into the actual flashback, back to Aizawa when he was still Inoue. Once again, I wonder why this was not in the main series and this was instead thrown into Vigilantes. I don't know, whatever the case may be. We started with Aizawa staring at the cat while it's raining, and they're kind of just like, he's looking at it for a while, and eventually he kind of like puts his umbrella in front of the cat so it's keeping it from the rain, and then walks back to you, and he comes just soaked, and and their homeroom teacher, who I'm pretty sure we never actually learned his name in this episode, unless I'm mistaken. I blinked and missed his title card. Which first I have to ask is, like, what is this design meant to be a reference to something? Because I feel like I've seen his outfit somewhere, like his like headband he's got there. I swear was used for either MODOK, I think maybe Kang used it. His outfit seems kind of Han Solo inspired, maybe like Castlevania, you know, Richter Belmont kind of look going on. I'm not sure if it's meant to be a reference to anything, man. Let me know in the comments. But I felt like with all the pouches and everything, like he's a night guard, I feel this is meant to be some sort of reference to something. I could be wrong. Anyway, Aizawa mentioned how he felt down, that he's fine, that he felt rainy today. Whatever the fuck that means. He sits down, and then of course President Mike comes there and be like, yeah! Be like, oh, doom and gloom and want some room, you know, and he just starts busting his balls about everything. This is when Shirokuma comes in there through the window instead of the door, and their homeroom teacher is on his ass about going through the window, telling him to be like a door person and use a door. Honestly, this was pretty funny, man. With like, and Jericho was like, "No, it's a third-story window, sir." He doesn't use the door like a normal person. This whole little exchange was pretty funny. Anyway, Shirokuma returns Aizawa's umbrella to him, and then he's asking, like, hey, he's like trying to ask him, like, hey, did you see a cat with you when you grabbed this? And then we see this motherfucker. How he did not got suspended for this is beyond me. This motherfucker starts stripping right in the middle of class. Bro just starts stripping, even taking off his underwear, bro. Brother is completely naked in front of everybody in this classroom. For some, I don't know, like, bro, could you not have done this in the hallway or something? Like, why you gotta do this in front? Of course, all the students are screaming at him. All the girls are mortified by the sight that they are witnessing. And then Shirokuma shows up this new advantage of like his power, where he says, like, it calls it a fluffy center, like right when he starts turning and you can see his ass, like right before you could start seeing his dick and balls through his legs, is when the fluffy center bar, as he calls it, pops up to cover up the goods. And he says, he says something like, my little fluffy friend, can you check the little fluffy friend I have in here, or something along those lines. Once again, the students are screaming at him and the women are horrified. And this is when he pulls out the cat from his crotch. That poor kid, man. That cat did not ask for this. I don't know how it works that thing, man, but like, brother, that is just wrong, bro. Why are you stuffing the cat in your crotch, brother? Anyway, also, one other thing before I forget to mention this. This whole sequence was done, or at least presumably at the time that I'm recording this, by an animator by the name of Ayana Nishino, if I'm pronouncing that right. That was the animator. I think it's like the only credited cut for this episode. Yeah, the only credited cut for this episode. The rest of artists unknown. Anyway, so so yeah, this was insanity, man. With Shirokuma, brother was certainly a character. I will say that, man. Like, this dude's kind of weird. Not gonna lie. So anyway, Aizawa then changes into his gym clothes at some point. The rain starts falling as they're about to start doing roll call. Of course, President Mike, when he gets to President Mike, he's like, yeah, not so loud. Of course. So anyway, so then we cut over. So then after Aizawa like looks at Shirakumo looks back at him now rocking a bandana and his gym clothes like draped over, and it's like gym shirt or whatever is draped over his shoulder while the cat is sitting on the pillow on top of his desk. We get some new commercial card for this arc, which is pretty cool that we actually got these, man. And this is like, I'm just gonna mention this real quick, man. Now, you guys know me, and my opinions on Yaoi ships and whatnot. I will say this, man. First of all, man, I feel like that there is going to be a massive switch with the Fujoshis. Like the massive instant flip from unironically trying to make Ida and Uraraka thing in their quest to destroy Izu Ocha, and they immediately jump shit to Toga Chaco once that started getting a lot more presence in the story. Toga and Uraraka's relationship became more of the forefront of the series in the latter half. I have a feeling, I don't know if this happened with the mangas at all. If you guys are manga readers, please let me know. But I feel there's going to be another massive switch like that, where all the present Mike and Aizawa shippers, which I hate, like the shippers themselves seem cool. You hear nothing from their kin, which hey, that's all I can ask for. Stay in your goddamn lane. That's all I ask. But anyway, that shit is like one of those that just reeks of like, can two guys just not be friends? You know, that's one thing I always know the Yaoi shit now. But anyway, I would not be surprised with this arc now happening in Vigilantes. They're all gonna start shipping Aizawa and Shirakumo. That is they're gonna immediately switch to that and be like, President Mike and Aizawa, ew. You know what I mean? They're gonna immediately forget about that. Like the Baku Dekus immediately forgot about Uraraka and Ida. I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong, but I just get that feeling, man, with this arc being focused on Aizawa. Obviously, of course, it's going to end with Shirakumo's death, more than likely. I feel that switch is going to happen. I could be wrong, but I would not be surprised if that is, in fact, what actually happens, and that ends up happening, you know, in the latter half of the season. Whatever the case. Also, I forgot to mention this before I continue on. I really like the music of the episode, man. I'm pretty sure we heard some, like, during the course of the episode with Aizawa, we heard a couple of new tracks here, man. They sounded really good, man. So once again, shout out to Yuki Hayashi, man. Absolutely go to composer. Anyway, so after roll call is done, I have to recap that from the commercial. The homeroom teacher, which once again, like I said, we don't get his name, mentions how, you know, during the summer, this is when students start getting to work studies, which I was kind of surprised about, because if you guys remember, back in season 4, when when Class A they got from their, you know, their work studies while they were still in class, while they were still during their semester. Now, I don't know if now, and sure, we're going to make the argument that probably because the Hero Commission wanted to give them, you know, some real training, because, of course, the League and everything, while this was often done more during peaceful times before all that. I am kind of wondering, and like, you know, they even said, I'm pretty sure, in that episode, season 4, when they revealed this, they mentioned how this is usually only like 7 third years only get his first years don't get work studies, if I remember correctly. But I am kind of wondering if before it was like they only did their work studies during the summer, and then during the rest of the year they're focused on their studies, while in the main series it made it seem like Izuku and the other had to juggle their work studies plus all their schoolwork. While here it seems like they only had to worry about that during the summer, while they were at school they just had to worry about school. I could be wrong, they were working, and the students even back then had to juggle both at the same time, but it made it seem like this was like only like a summer thing. I could be wrong though, so if I'm wrong, please correct me down in the comments below. Anyway, this is when they started to do some, you know, hero training and whatnot. You see the briefcase coming out of the wall once again with like the whole "My Hero" track playment, which I always say that track, man. We get to see what the backyard area, training area of UA with like the dirt track on, with the dirt area, whatever. I don't know if it has like a specific name or not. Area of it. We get to see what it looked like before Izuku and the others come in, which I also saw a tweet from some account mentioning about the differences, and of course a lot of people don't think about the composite between the main series, which even that shot that was used was back from season 1, compared to Vigilantes, which you guys already know my opinion of the whole Studio C, Studio B thing with Hero Waka and Vigilante series, man. Though I will admit, yes, the composite does look a lot better for Vigilantes than it does in the main series. That is just a fact, but regardless, man. Anyway. So they get started, man. I was kind of hoping, and maybe we might still get this anyway, I was kind of hoping this arc would give us an origins about the scarf or where the fuck he got this thing. But it seems like we are not going to learn anything more about how where Aizawa got this scarf, how he figured out how to use the scarf, none of that, seemingly. I could be wrong, we might get that here, man, but it seems that we are not going to learn anything about the scarf, unfortunately. So then they're doing these one-on-one battles to train them. The Goku inspirations for Shirokuma are very obvious with the jacket, the fucking, you know, Cloud. Of course, he got his own power pole as well. Clearly, the manga for Vigilantes is a big Dragon Ball fan, though, to be fair, who isn't in Japan. So, but yeah, very obvious Goku inspiration with this entire getup he's got, with his entire getup he's got. We see a little bit of his, we see a little bit of Presmite, then we get to see Aizawa once again uses erasure. The dude's gauntlets are dead, then he wraps him in his like scarf thing. We then get to some rescue train where Shirokuma is just like throwing these dummies on his Cloud, and we see Aizawa and the others helping out. We then see this music teacher, who I'm assuming was seemingly this generation, this faculty's version of UA's Midnight, seemingly. Also, one thing I forgot to mention, I also forgot to mention earlier, we also found that I was kind of surprised that it was actually, Shirokuma was actually a year younger than both Aizawa and Presmite, which I was a bit surprised. But anyway, we got to her, man. She's like a seemingly like some sort of music teacher, and she's like teaching the students some sort of dance routine to make them stand out, because if they don't stand out, no one will commission them, which we all know how that ends up for Aizawa. He just stays away from the media. Anyway, we cut up to days later, where now their homeroom teacher is now talking with some of the other faculty members, asking him about his problem children, about the problem kids. Obviously, Aizawa, Shirokuma, and which I also kind of respect how this teacher gives zero fucks and has no problem singling them out. Where like he tells Presmite to shut the hell up. Anyway, something about the works that he straight up he says, I won't mix words. I'm talking about Presmite, Aizawa, and Shirokuma. I'm like, brother, I gotta praise the brother keeps it a buck. But anyway, he mentions how they're doing and how they'll fare, and more or less, Presmite and Shirokuma will be fine. Aizawa, he's sort of in like an identity crisis right now, where he doesn't know what he wants to do. So they're kind of wondering if he'll even if anyone will ever even want him. So we then cut back over to the fight back over to the fight again, where Aizawa gets thrown to the ground. This dude starts chastising him, talking shit to Aizawa about his core being useless, how he throws around that rag like it's gonna do something, you know, and then he starts getting in his face and everything, man, starts pointing at him. And, you know, this is when the homeroom teacher steps in there and tells him that's enough. He checks on Aizawa, he says he's fine. And then we cut over to the next day, I'm assuming, where Shirokuma and the others are now once again eating lunch on the roof. Like in I swear to God, man, at this point, it's almost, I swear it's written into law that if an anime takes place in high school, there must be one scene where where the characters eat on the roof. It's almost, I swear it's almost written into law at this point. The mainstream, I don't think ever did it, but Vigilantes took care of that for them. Seriously, man, I swear this shit is written into law at this point, that characters must eat lunch on the roof at some point during said series. It is, I dare say, it is written into law at this point. Anyway, so they're talking once again. Shirokuma mentions him about being the nuisance to villains, taking down their core, so it just turns into a fist fight, which we end up seeing is what he ends up doing. Then, of course, this is when we see, and eventually pay attention to the foreground. What you actually see the cat like getting on Shirokuma's legs, meowing for food, which is pretty cute. So then Shirokuma tries to give the cat some sushi, and Aizawa tells him, "Don't. Human foods are bad for him." Which I'm like, yeah, I'm sure he's right, but at the same time, cats eat food. Cats eat fish. Like I'm pretty sure the sushi is fine. Whatever the case may be, Aizawa grabs the cat, man, and starts feeding it some formula, some cat formula. I gotta love Aizawa. Also, guys, I think the animation on the cat itself from this point, man, is very good, man. Unfortunately, I said we don't have an animator credit for this cut at all. So, but yeah. So he's like feeding the cat the formula, and everyone's meant to, and then Aizawa tells him like, you shouldn't bring a stray, you shouldn't bring random cats to school. He's like, but I couldn't let my friend all alone. And Presmite's like, plus you're here to take care of him. Anyway, so Aizawa then asks if he's out on house tree. He says like, nah, and then Shirokuma says that nah, he's making good use of my gym clothes, and then we cut to a scene of the cat pissing on his gym uniform. Nasty work, man. Nasty work from Shirokuma, man. Anyway, this is when Midnight shows up, and we see her hero costume, which is just belts, pouches and a leather jacket, man. Even for her standards, this is ridiculous, man, that she's actually allowed to wear this. Like, I am the type of person to get on like, oh my god, why is this character dressed like this? This is so wrong. But I'm like, this is just absurd. And Aizawa agrees with me, saying that there should be at least a little shiz. But Midnight, shameless as she is, she calls it bold and practical. It is certainly bold, but I hardly call this outfit practical. But anyway, she goes on about how amazing her outfit is, and of course Shirokuma was loving it because, you know, he's a dude, and Midnight is a fine woman, so, you know, he's obviously enjoying this. Anyway, she says that in a year's time, society will finally catch up to her, and then this is which I'm pretty sure was supposed to mention the series in the main series as well, where we see the frame split, tear apart, split in half, as President mentions how laws were about they started having laws, they started talking about laws about what is actually acceptable for heroes to wear, and sadly the law changed before society did. So then they hand the cat off to Midnight. She of course is in love with the kitten, man, calling her cute. They still decide on name him, and so they end up deciding the name on Sushi because she asked them to prowl out their favorite foods, and Shiroko's a sushi. President Mike is fried chicken based, and Aizawa doesn't have a preference because of course he doesn't. So they end up deciding on sushi, and then they're wondering like where the cats can live, and Midnight more or less just takes the cat and runs. So she's taking care of it, as we saw earlier on in the episode. Which now so begs the question, man, because as you guys know, in season 6, Midnight dies. So who is taking care of the cat now? Like, did Aizawa take over after you know she had passed? Did President Mike take over? Did Mina take over? Who is caring for the cat now after Midnight is back? This is a question that's yet to be answered. I doubt this arc will answer that question because, you know, this was written before, I assume, Midnight's death in season 6. So I guess that's just gonna be left up in the air for fan artists to make sad, depressing comics about that either Aizawa, President Mike, or Mina herself took over caring for the cat. So then it's like the next day or whatever. Once again, Aizawa and Shirokuma are eating lunch, and we find out that President Mike has already got his work study sorted out. We also find out he's running a podcast, which I think might have gotten established in season 1. I'm not sure, but I'm kind of surprised he was working on a podcast while he was in high school. Everyone got a podcast, apparently, as they say. Anyway, so he's got that whole thing going on. Midnight once again shows up. She's very cute, man. Looks great in the hero outfit, man. Once again, I'm loving those pink glasses she has on. And so she shows up what Sushi's doing, where Sushi takes a shit while they're eating. I'm not sure where Sushi takes this shit, because it seems like he does it by her feet. But maybe she's on the litter box. They don't show because the entire thing is pixelated. I'm not sure when the manga's uncensored or not. I don't know why it's censored to begin with, man. Does Japan have some laws about you can't show shit or vomiting on TV, regardless of the time slot, man? Because like what happened with Chainsaw Man? I don't know. Regardless, man, we don't see it. She's also rocking an iPhone 6, it looks like, so. That tells you how old this manga is. Maybe it's a 7, I don't know. Anyway, so then she mentioned that if anyone still needs work studies, you know, her agency will take them up, which of course is the dude that looks like Prince. His name is like Purple Highness, I believe his name is. So yeah, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is where the episode ends. Phenomenal episode, man. Obviously, I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of this arc, man. Next looks like we're gonna have some really cool animation cuts in that one, man, because we saw bits of in the PV. There's also where Aizawa gets his goggles, which I first thought Shirokuma gave him his goggles, but we see in the next preview they're both just wearing the same goggles. So yeah, that should be nice. Anyway, guys, overall this episode 9.5 out of 10, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like the video, subscribe if you're new. Promise if you feel like it. Links are just below. And there's nothing more. See you guys next time.